In this lesson, we'll cover linear arrays. Let's say you're laying out your space and you're adding in diffusers and you want to create a lot of diffusers in a linear line. One, you could place them one at a time, or two, you could use the copy command and copy them as many times as you want. Or three, you can use the array command and array those in a line. The difference between copying and arraying is you can actually group these together and associate them to the original in the array command. Let's look at one of these diffusers and array it in a horizontal line. To start, go ahead and select the diffuser on the right. The diffuser is the square with the X in it. Once you select it, it turns blue or highlighted, dimensions appear for its location, and the Properties panel on the left displays the information for the diffuser. Now, the Array command is in the middle of the ribbon on the Modify panel. Go ahead and click Array. Now, when the Array command starts, on the Options bar, you have two types of array, linear and radial. For this example, make sure the linear button is pressed. Now, Group and Associate means how many items you create in this array will be grouped together. And you could also change that total number of items within the group. Number is how many items do you want to be in this array. Let's change it to 4. Move to, you have two options, second and last. This means the spacing. So when it says move to second, that means you're going to define the spacing between the first element and the second element. And then all subsequent elements will have the same spacing. If you choose last, you're defining the spacing from the first element to the last element in the array. In this case, it would be from the first element to the fourth element since we have 4 items. And constrain means horizontal or vertical, not any random angle. So let's leave it set at second. So now Revit wants us to choose a base point to start to measure from. And typically I'm going to select the center of my object. I'm going to choose right in the center of my diffuser. Once I select that, as you start to drag your mouse, you see a dimension appear. This will be the dimension from the first item to the second item, hence what we just selected on the options bar. All subsequent items will have the same spacing. So I'm going to drag my mouse to the right until I see 4 feet. Once I see 4 feet, left-click your mouse. Once you do that, you define the spacing between the first and the second element, and again, all subsequent elements have the same spacing. Now, Revit's asking you now, are you sure you want 4 items, or do you want to add maybe a 5th item or a 6th item or change the number to something else? So just to illustrate this, you could key in number 5 or 5 and hit the Enter key, and it'll actually add a 5th element in the array. Go ahead and click anywhere in the white space. That will deselect anything that's selected. Now, since we did check the checkbox to group these and associate them, if you select any element within the array, go ahead and pick one of the diffusers, you'll actually see the number appear of the items in the array. If you want to change it, simply click the number, change the number that you would like in the array now. Let's say I want 4, hit the Enter key, and it updates to 4. You also have on the options bar, Activate Dimensions. If you click that, this is where you can change the dimensions of where the array is placed. Go ahead and click anywhere in the white space to deselect. If you select again any element within the array, you see they're grouped together. You can ungroup these so they're all individual items. And to do that, on the ribbon all the way at the top to the right, you can select Ungroup. This would ungroup all of the elements in the array, so now they're all individual. For example, now if I click on one of the elements in the array, none of the other elements are highlighted. So I basically broke the relationship between them in the array. Let's do another array. This time we'll define the end distance or the last. In this example, let's start the array command first. So go to the Modify tab on the ribbon, then go to the Modify panel, and then select Array. Once you've selected the Array command, Revit is asking you now, please pick what you would like to array. So in this case, let's select the diffuser on the lower right. Once you pick it, it turns highlighted, or a different shade or color, in this case blue, and Revit's still asking you if you want to pick something else. In this case, I'm done selecting, so I need to tell Revit, let's go to the Array command. So hit the Enter key. Now we're at the Array command. Now on the options bar, let's verify the Linear Array button is selected. Leave Group and Associate checkmarked. Change the number from 2 to 4. And select Last for Move To. Because what we're going to do now is define the distance from the first element to the fourth element, or the last element, since we have 4 in this array. So now Revit wants us to pick a base point to start measuring from. I'm going to move into the center of this actual diffuser. Go ahead and left-click it. Start to drag your mouse. Now you're defining the distance from the first element to the last element. And I'm going to drag all the way over almost to the wall on the right, 15 feet. Once you see 15 feet, go ahead and left-click. What it will do then is it will space all of the other items in between the first and the last element I just selected. And once again, it's asking me to choose or enter in the number of items that I want in the array, in this case, 4. Go ahead and hit the Enter key. And then click anywhere in the white space in the background to deselect the array. And just like the previous array, you can ungroup these, or you can change the number of elements in the array simply by selecting one of those elements and then changing the number of items in the array to another number, such as 3, and hit the Enter key and those update. But what you see happens in this manner is what changes are the elements between the first and the last. The last doesn't move because the spacing is set from the first to the last. Go ahead and click anywhere in the background to deselect. So in this example, we looked at linear array, and we looked at 2 different methods. One, select an object first, then create the array, or start the array command, then select your objects. We also looked at the distance when placing objects in an array, setting the distance from the first element to the second element, and then all subsequent items have the same distance. Or we looked at setting the distance from the first element to the last element, and then all of the other elements are spaced in between.